Today, I want to talk about a kind of loneliness that is actually quite hard to explain because it doesn't always look like the image we usually have in our minds when we think of someone who is lonely. Normally, when we say that a person feels lonely, we imagine someone with no plans, no friends, no partner, no messages on their phone, maybe spending too much time at home or feeling like nobody really counts on them. But there is another kind of loneliness that, from the outside, is almost invisible. In fact, it often happens in the exact places where you are supposed to feel accompanied. At dinner with friends, at a family gathering, inside a romantic relationship, in a group chat that never stops buzzing, or even in a room full of people who have known you for years. And that kind of loneliness is especially painful because it makes you doubt yourself. Because when you are physically alone, at least the explanation seems obvious. There is no one there. But when you are surrounded by people and still feel this huge emptiness inside, the question changes. You no longer say, "I'm alone because there is nobody here." You start asking yourself, what is wrong with me for feeling this way when apparently I have everything I need not to feel lonely? That is where a quiet kind of guilt begins. You start thinking that maybe you are too sensitive, that maybe you expect too much from others, that maybe you overthink things too much, or that maybe there is something in you that simply doesn't know how to fit in. And many times, instead of asking yourself whether the relationships you have are actually deep, safe, or reciprocal, you end up asking yourself whether you are the problem for needing something more than plans, messages, and physical presence. But feeling lonely around people does not always mean that you are difficult, intense, or complicated. Sometimes it means something much simpler and much more uncomfortable, that you are sharing space with people you cannot truly share yourself with. You can laugh with someone, you can have coffee with someone, you can answer their messages every day and still feel that an important part of you does not have permission to exist in that relationship. Because being accompanied and feeling seen are two very different things. And I think this is one of the most important keys to this whole topic. Many people confuse company with presence as if simply having people around you were enough to stop you from feeling lonely. But it isn't. Real company is not just someone being close to you. It is feeling that you can lower your guard with that person, that you do not have to measure every word, that you do not have to turn your pain into a more comfortable version so the other person does not feel awkward, that you do not have to apologize every time you need something. When that does not exist, what happens is very subtle. You do not suddenly end the relationship. You do not stop talking to everyone overnight. You do not disappear in some dramatic way. You simply start editing yourself. You share less. You explain less. You ask for less. You laugh when you are supposed to laugh. You reply when you are supposed to reply. You show up when you are supposed to show up. But little by little, you begin to leave outside the relationship everything that could reveal how you actually feel. And over time, that leaves you with a very strange feeling, because from the outside, your life looks full of company. But inside, you know there are entire rooms of your inner world that no one ever enters.